Dump Tuesday, where comedy meets tragedy and silver linings are turned into comedy gold. I'm your host, Priscilla Goose. In this week's Trauma Dump Report, the U.S. Senate passed a $70 billion immigration bill on June 5, 2026, and the bill is currently pending a vote with the U.S. House of Representatives. If the bill is passed, I hope the funds will go towards more humane treatment of ICE detainees, including adequate food, water, and medical care. But knowing the U.S. government, the funds are most likely to be allocated towards Monster energy drinks and paying some guys named Chad to conduct sting operations at Home Depot. ICE Director Todd Lyons said that he wants the deportation process to be like Amazon Prime, but with people. And so far he's achieved just that, as conditions have proved to be completely inhumane and everything is being run off the backs of modern-day slave laborers. As a way to cut costs and benefit shareholders, many ICE prisons are run solely off detainee labor, in which prisoners are paid just $1 a day for a full day's work. So I guess it's not that they're afraid of immigrants taking their jobs, it's that they're afraid of immigrants unionizing and demanding fair working conditions. So far, the U.S. has already spent over $1 billion on 11 of the 24 warehouses that are planned to be refurbished as ICE detention centers, many of which won't even have windows, even though you'd think with prices like that they'd come with their own bowling alleys and home theaters. Currently, ICE detention centers are operating out of prisons, tent camps, and military-based structures. Who knew the U.S. government was so accommodating? These luxury ICE accommodations include moldy entrees, vermin infestation, and water so brown that it's also being currently detained by ICE. ICE boasts its protection of the American people from the violent crimes of undocumented residents. But according to ICE's own data, 70% of those being detained have no criminal record. And of those who do have a record, many of them are recorded to be minor violations, such as traffic infractions. So while we're enslaving otherwise innocent people, Trump gets to roam free, having committed more felonies than there are Dr. Pepper flavors. The $70 billion immigration bill does not include safety or accountability measures for ICE agents such as body cameras, which basically means we're funding Chad, mentioned earlier, from the Home Depot sting operations to take his anger out on your Venezuelan nanny because he ran out of drywall. ICE and federal education grants are funded by discretionary spending, in which Congress votes on a yearly budget. But the funds from this bill will be entirely borrowed by the U.S. government, increasing our debt dollar per dollar. In Trauma Dump Tuesday's first ever episode, we learned that 6,000 positions are to be laid off in the LA school district by June 2026. So while the U.S. government is entirely okay with going into debt in order to give Chad an outlet for his anger, going into debt for your child's education is where they draw the line. The bad news is that now your child won't have a nanny or a teacher. But the good news is that if you're an LA school district employee, you're probably going to get laid off, which means you won't need a nanny anyway. As the debt interest increases, our taxpayer dollars continue to be allocated towards that interest, crowding out funding for things like community health care, roads, and schools. But who needs those things when you're a billionaire and you have outer space? As Elon Musk and major tech companies compete in the AI space race, they continue to spend billions of dollars destroying our planet, with plans to carry on that destruction into space. Now that Musk is bored wreaking environmental havoc on Earth, his plans to launch 1 million data centers into space is coming closer to a reality, as Google signed a deal with SpaceX on June 5, 2026, agreeing to pay them $920 million a month on top of the $2.29 billion contract that was just awarded to SpaceX by the U.S. government Space Force just earlier this year on May 29, 2026. And although the cooling of these orbital data centers is highly inefficient, with one 100 megawatt center requiring radiators roughly the size of 30 to 40 football fields, Musk assures that if you just keep throwing money at him, that he'll eventually figure it out. Elon Musk is scheduled to go public with SpaceX on June 12, 2026, with the largest IPO in history of around $75 billion, so that for just $135 a share, you can help this struggling billionaire become the world's first ever trillionaire. Of the many environmental hazards these orbital data centers pose, one of the most dangerous possible outcomes would be a data center collision, with just one collision resulting in catastrophe for all of humanity. And due to their enormous size, the possibility of collision vastly increases. But Elon Musk is no stranger to collisions, as Tesla's mortality rate continues to rank higher than any other auto brand in the US. A data center collision could result in what experts refer to as Kessler syndrome, and no, that isn't the name for Elon Musk's type of autism. Kessler syndrome is what happens when thousands of shrapnels of debris strike other satellites, creating more debris and a domino-like effect called Kessler syndrome that would ultimately trigger a modern-day dark age, resulting in widespread devastation, causing blackouts, navigation loss, and banking freezes. Although, with the amount of money I owe the IRS, banking freezes would probably be the least of my worries. These data centers also make it significantly difficult to detect alien life, interfering with radio signals and creating optical barriers. But I'm starting to believe that this was Elon Musk's plan all along, in order to prevent us from discovering his secret alien identity. Here are the facts. I present to you Exhibit A. Elon Musk wearing a t-shirt that reads, "Made on Earth by humans." I don't know about you, but if I were an alien life form trying to convince everyone I was a human, this is the exact shirt I would wear. Exhibit B. Elon Musk's children are named A12, Exa Darkside Rail, and Techno Mechanicus, just to name a few. These are not the names of human beings. These are the names of Star Wars villains. In a galaxy far, far away, Techno Mechanicus destroys the Millennium Falcon with just one collision from one of his father's orbital data centers, which is a headline from a reality we're really not that far, far away from. And lastly, Exhibit C. Elon Musk's space data center network is called Starlink, which is basically just another way of saying Elon phone home. I'm obviously kidding, but what I'm not kidding about is the unsustainability of these orbital data centers. These centers will have to be replaced every 3 to 4 years, making them less reliable than your dad's old iPhone 7 that he refuses to replace because he swears it still works fine. And while we're on the subject of iPhones, Foxconn, Elon Musk's competitor, who is widely known for making iPhones, has shifted aggressively towards becoming the dominant general contractor for AI infrastructure. So, needless to say, you can expect a lot of updates, glitches, and malfunctions. More environmental concerns surrounding these orbital data centers include accelerated global warming from the soot that's released from the rockets launching them into space, as well as its damage to the ozone layer. But as we all know, the state of our Earth is of very little concern to Musk, who has stated time and time again that he plans to live and die on Mars with the rest of his alien brethren. Of the multitude of problems these space data centers pose, I think one of the saddest ones is that the light pollution they produce will make it hard for people on Earth to see the stars, and easy for people on Earth to see what a terrible idea this is all going to turn out to be. These satellites are designed to burn up in Earth's atmosphere after a few short years, which is almost as fast as the money we're burning to fund them. As Elon Musk toils away on his plans in space, Kim Jong Un takes on the sea, as his recent announcement of the creation of a new 10,000-ton destroyer and secret underwater weapons made waves this last weekend. Get it? Waves. Excuse me. Kim Jong Un made his announcements regarding his plans to build the 10,000-ton destroyer just days before Xi Jinping's visit to North Korea on June 8th and June 9th, 2026, making the entire meeting one big boat measuring contest. This new boat will have to redeem North Korea for the devastating failure of their 5,000-ton destroyer launch that occurred just last year. Because North Korea isn't a free and open society, I wasn't able to find any footage of the boat launch failure, so instead, here's a video from the timeless classic, The Titanic, in which I imagine the footage looks somewhat similar. Unlike the Titanic, Kim Jong Un's destroyer, Kong, was fully restored and no one was hurt. Not yet, anyway. The boat launch failure was so humiliating to Kim Jong Un that he ordered the engineers on the project to be arrested and sentenced to brutal consequences. And due to North Korea's laws on generational punishment, their spouses, siblings, children, and grandchildren will also be subject to punishment, and they will be sent to prison camps where they will be tortured, starved, and murdered to death. Talk about holding a grudge. Kim Jong-un's destroyer will act as a deterrent against U.S. intervention as Xi Jinping moves closer to his plans to peacefully taking over Taiwan, because we all know that Xi Jinping is famously known for peace. And if you don't agree with him, Xi Jinping will have you sent to the gulag and tortured to death. As the AI space race marches on, Taiwan remains of special interest to China, as Taiwan is home to more than 90% of the world's most advanced microchips, which renders the physical invasion counterproductive and results in what experts are calling a silicone shield. Essentially, invading Taiwan and damaging these highly coveted AI chips would be like stealing the Titanic and then driving it straight into the iceberg. Although the silicone shield is stopping China from physically invading Taiwan, China continues to overstep its bounds. Just this past weekend, Taiwan's Coast Guard reportedly expelled 4 Chinese naval ships from their territory on June 7, 2026. Beijing insisted that they were carrying out a special operation and not to interfere, which is, I'm pretty sure, what my cat is trying to tell me right before he annexes my entire dinner plate. China calls their plan to invade Taiwan peaceful reunification, as they actively deploy fighter jets to surround Taiwan in what is essentially the largest game of I'm not touching you ever played. China's current tactics to reunify Taiwan include psychological warfare, and where China is spreading disinformation and AI-generated content, and Taiwan is fighting back in the most Asian way possible, through memes. Memes act as a defense for Taiwan, as they're more shareable than the information disseminated by the Chinese government, which sort of makes influencers Taiwan's front line of defense. Remember that independent journalism is invaluable, and to keep fucking the system before it fucks you. I've been your host, Priscilla Goose. Thank you for joining me for the 3rd episode of Trauma Dump Tuesday. I can't wait to see you next week with a brand new Trauma Dump report.